Hello you lovely lot and welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie and we're going to unbox and have a little look at the Artful mixed media box. I want to quickly start as well by saying thank you for being really patient with me, especially whilst I was on a little vacation. It did actually get extended as a little surprise from my husband and best friend, and I ended up staying out there a little longer. So again, thank you for your patience. Hopefully things are going to go back to normal now because I've really missed doing this, and yeah. So let's talk about the Artful mixed media box. Now, as you can see, we have some of those beautiful Artful brushes. We have a filbert in a size 11 and a round in a size 2. I'm always happy to get these. I do actually think they're really good, solid brushes to work with. We have 4 pots of the Artful acrylics, and they are the exact same colours that we had in the screen printing box. So we have a blue, a yellow, a black and a red, so pretty standard stuff there. I have a incredibly obnoxious neon orange bottle of ink, which actually I don't hate. 6 assorted coloured pencils, and they're oil based, a bottle of masking fluid, and another Artful favourite of mine is the Artful mixed media pad, and I really like making sketch pads from this stuff. I don't know why, it is a good all-rounder. I think it's the same as their watercolour paper, which I've discussed in previous Artful unboxing videos. Anyway, waffling aside, let's talk a little bit more whilst I'm swatching. Oh yeah, totally forgot to mention we have an Artful graphite pencil in grade F. But anyway, so I can't for the life of me remember the name of these colours. I did actually film this before I went on vacation. But I also think as well the contents varied coloured pencil wise between the boxes, because in the magazine and what I've got in front of me they are different, and I also feel that might be the same for the ink as well. So if you've had this box, let me know down below and confirm my suspicions. Or not. The pencils themselves were quite nice and buttery to work with actually, and although it's not a main medium of mine, I'm pretty well versed with them, and yeah, they were alright. The only problems I did have with them was sharpening them. I did use a regular sharpener and I also used a blade. Unfortunately though, the leads might have just got a little bit damaged and transit. It does happen, but I'm okay with that because I actually didn't intend on having this box. I just forgot to cancel it for this particular quarter of the year and it came through, and it's the same with the clay box, which I'm yet to open and explore. The bottle of ink we have is a acrylic based ink, very much like the ones we had in the acrylic ink box a couple of years ago now, and yeah, I'm quite happy to have a new colour in there to explore and play with, and I mean that really is an obnoxious orange, isn't it? For the sake of swatching, these paints are exactly the same as the screen print ones, and I did just go back to the screen print ones rather than breaking the seals on the new ones. There's just no point letting paint solidify unnecessarily, so that's what I did. Now, I'll be completely honest with you, I hadn't got a clue what to do with this box. Like I say, I completely forgot it was coming and then it just arrived. So I thought I would do a master study, which is something I don't think I've done on this channel before. It's also a picture I actually want to just do a massive version of on a canvas maybe, and just have it because I think that would be cool, but that's going to be one off camera and that's just going to be for me to decorate. However, for the purpose of having a vessel to explore this lovely mixed media box, I went with the Fallen Angel picture, and that was originally painted by Alexandre Cabanel. I've probably said that wrong, so please let me know down below. And it was painted in 1847. Thank you Wikipedia for that information. So I wanted to paint it. I actually just really like the overall picture. I like Lucifer's really angry, sad face, and I wanted to try and replicate that, and obviously at some point I'll probably try and replicate that again. You'll see at this stage I am using the Artful graphite pencil just to very lightly map things out. I do wish they'd popped an eraser in there. Again, I mean, it's not necessary. I suppose if we're all artists anyway, we've probably got something to erase with, but it would have been nice. Luckily, with it being an F grade, it wasn't making too much of a permanent impression on there, so I carried on and I started off by building the colours up using those coloured pencils. Now again, obviously the paints that have been provided, well, all the mixed media that has been provided are not going to match up with the original picture, so I saw this as an opportunity to just play about with colours a little bit, and in the absence of colours that I needed, I just used a random colour to, I don't know, express a little bit of tonal variation there. And that's something I am always going to recommend, especially when you've got a restricted palette or a restricted medium, even though there's technically a little bit of everything in here. But it's a good exercise to, I guess, challenge yourself and see what you can do through the obstacle of having or not having the correct colours. So let's talk about the coloured pencils, seeing as that's what's going on the screen right now. So yeah, they were lovely to work with, they blended quite nicely. I prefer to use them on quite a thin paper with no texture on it and a hard surface beneath it, so I did find it a little bit of a challenge using it on the mixed medium paper, but that is more of a preference really than there being any faults there. But you know how it is, we've all got favoured ways of working. However, I suppose you've got to embrace the challenge a little bit. My reason for not being so fond of just having a slightly textured paper there is it shows up really badly with coloured pencils, and I have to apply a lot of pressure, and I'm pretty heavy-handed as it is at the best of times, but when you put a hard pencil, even though they're technically soft, but you place a hard pencil down on the paper kind of doesn't resist, doesn't leave the mark down, you put more pressure and then the lead snaps and they have to keep sharpening it. So that's kind of why I'm not a huge fan of this particular paper for coloured pencils. Anyway, waffling a little bit there. And I'm probably going to waffle a little bit more whilst all that coloured pencil stuff's going on in the background, so I might as well give you a little insight as to where I've been for the past week or so. As you'll know, I had some pretty sad news last month, and again, I want to thank you for your patience with me on that one. I do feel like things are getting back to normal now, which is good. Last week was my birthday, and me and my husband went to go and watch Muse in The Hague, and it was fantastic. It was just great to let our hair down and just step away from everything. We were only there for a couple of nights, but it was just nice to get away, just to be somewhere different. And of course, obviously, watching some live music was good. Eating some local cuisine was fantastic, and whilst I was there we had the opportunity to go into the MC Escher Museum, which I was super pumped about because I've got some lino print videos coming up that I want to share with you, because that just seems to be something I'm really enjoying doing at the moment, so that's probably going to be the next video. Like I say, we had a rather fabulous time while we were out there, and on the journey back we had to stop into Amsterdam. My husband had made up the most wonderful reason why we had to go there. He said it was work related, and we're wandering around for a little while and we end up in this hotel and my best friend's in there. And literally my husband just dropped me off. He said, "Happy birthday, enjoy a couple more days on vacation, and I'll see you when you get home." So I got to spend a couple of fabulous days with my lovely friend. I'm not mentioning your name, you know who you are. And that was wonderful as well. I had a really good time. I just feel very lucky and very grateful and very loved by these people. And I thought I'd just share that little story with you. Again, couple more days to sample the delicious cuisine, go and do a bit of sightseeing. We had a wonderful tour on a canal boat and we met some beautiful people while we were out there too. And yeah, I think I needed it. It was great. It was really good. We were hoping to go to the Van Gogh Museum, however it was ticket only and we didn't really want to be spending a lot of time in a queue, possibly to be turned away. So I think me and my best friend will have to go back. I've already been before, but I'm always up for a little museum gallery visit anywhere I am in the world. But anyway, I'll probably dip back into my little vacation story, but something new's happened on screen now. So, going back to not really liking the texture, the coloured pencils alone just really highlight the graininess of the paper, so I went into the cupboard and got my little bottle of Zest It Out and a Q-tip or a cotton bud, and I just thought it just needed blending through a little bit, and I'm glad it did. It just did what I needed it to, got some of that nice tonal variation smoothed out and looking a bit more fleshy, we'll say. The coloured pencils layered up really nicely though, and they blended really nicely as well. I wouldn't say they were an amazing coloured pencil or a bad one, and to be honest, I'll say I don't really know that much about coloured pencils anyway. I kind of see it as a nice experience at the time. I tend not to do a huge amount of research into what I'm using when I'm using them, and I don't really buy them because I've got an embarrassing amount of them, whether I've collected them through subscription boxes or I've just bought them because I've seen them in a sale. But they're not really something I use a lot of the time, so I don't know actually, maybe with the warmer months coming up I'm not going to quite be able to paint as much, so maybe I go back to coloured pencils, we'll see. Although to be honest the lino printing's kind of winning at the moment. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we can catch up on, and I do believe there is. So I've joined a local art group with one of my oldest friends from college, and that's been fun. It's pretty back to basics stuff, but I think sometimes it's okay to dip your toe back there. We get into the comfort zone quite easily, which is fine. We all have a way of working, but it's also nice to explore maybe forgotten techniques or maybe viewpoints and how to approach your work and see if you can add that into your current practice. So you know what, if there's any art groups near to you, I highly recommend it. It's kind of nice geeking out with like-minded people, a little bit like what I'm doing with you guys on this channel. I've also dipped my toes back into life drawing again. However, at the end of this month, they do shut down for the summer break and they resume, I think it might be mid-September, so I'll try and get a couple more sessions in. I'm not going to do any videos of them though, because YouTube just does not like nudity, and even though I always try and find a pose where there are no bits and bobs on show, it still just doesn't like it. However, if you're wanting to get into drawing the human form, again, this is another recommendation I definitely think you should try out. A lot of people are put off by life drawing because you have got a nude person in front of you. However, it's so good and so useful for anatomical studies, and you don't need to be good at doing portraits to go in and join a class like this. Sometimes they are led by whoever runs the course. Even if it's not a course, there's usually a lot of people there who are veterans, they've been there a while, and they can offer you some advice, as well as maybe just letting you crack on with it as well if that's what you want to do. But don't be put off by joining one of those groups thinking, oh, I can't do this, because, well, that's how we learn. I couldn't draw people until it was one of those things that was prescribed to me on the college courses I went on, and I hated it. All of my drawings were absolutely garbage to begin with, and then something kind of clicks. It still doesn't quite look right, but you'll look at what you've done and you're like, that actually does look like what's in front of me somewhat. And it's just a practice. It's like a muscle. You've got to keep moving it to keep it there, and I'd say the same for life drawing. And I'm totally waffling on again, but this coloured pencil part really did take a while. But don't worry, because I'm literally about to jazz it up a bit with that really obnoxious fluorescent orange. The source painting, he's got quite reddish hair, and I thought, well, let's just turn that up a notch and go for the orange. So I just dotted it straight on the page. I moved it around within the area of where I'd penciled it out, but as you can see, I pretty much just slathered it all over the page, let it crack on and do its thing. And I thought we can work on top of that once it's dried. I do always find acrylic inks a little bit weird to work with, not in a bad way, but I'm so used to inks either behaving like a watercolour if they're not acrylic based, or, well, I guess watercolours, and they don't quite seem to flow as much. I suppose maybe if I did a wet and wet technique, but they don't seem to move across the paper as fluidly, and as well, it dries really quickly, but I suppose that's acrylics all over. That's probably one of the things that is why I'm not a huge fan of acrylics, but you know, we've all got our preferences, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't learn how to use these mediums, especially if we get them in subscription boxes. I mean, you've got them then, I suppose. And I guess saying that, I should try and tackle that clay box at some point. I'm not brilliant at sculpting, it's definitely not a discipline I'm well practiced in, and it's an air dry clay as well, so it's going to be all gritty. It's going to be sitting in my fingerprints, and that's not going to make me very happy whilst using it. It's like pastels and charcoal, just horrible. But you know, for science, I guess, and creative exploration, I will tackle it at some point, and hey, I've got it now, so I might as well give it a try. A lot of people have suggested for me to use gloves while I'm using these sensory materials. I actually don't really like wearing gloves either. I kind of feel like I lose a bit of dexterity whilst I'm working, and I just don't like the feel of the gloves. It's the same in winter. If I'm having to use my hands, like when I'm walking the dog, I won't wear gloves because I don't feel I can grip his lead properly, or, you know, pick up his droppings as easily with a glove on my hand. So yeah, that's why my hands always look pretty chapped in winter. Not that you needed to know that, but that's kind of why I don't really like wearing gloves. Now, once that acrylic layer had dried, it was time to play with that paint, and as you've just seen, I've mixed up a few colours in there, just again to add some tonal variations for this detailed area. Again, I've gone in there with pretty loose brush strokes. I know there's quite a bit of hair definition there, but I've been quite loose about it. I haven't been too obsessive about the hair patterns, and I'm quite proud of myself for loosening up a little bit there. I loosened up with Lucifer. Oh, that doesn't sound good, does it? It is kind of weird me using acrylics though. I used to use them a lot back in the university days and kind of stopped after that. I'm not sure really 100% why I don't like using them. I think it's because you've just got different transparencies, and I'll be honest, I don't know enough about acrylic paints to pick the right ones, so to speak. I prefer to use gouache because they are opaque, and I think I have the same expectations with acrylics, and obviously they are two very different mediums. So yeah, I guess that's something I just need to practice with a little bit more. And hey, you know what, I've got quite a lot of acrylic paint right now, so I should start using it up somewhat. But saying that, the lino printing will help to use some of that up. I have bought a mixing medium to go in with acrylic paints that turns it into a lino ink. And again, I can't wait to explore that in the future and obviously share it with you guys, because I know quite a few of you are interested in lino printing, and I'm very interested in it at the moment, so I'm quite happy to share that. Now, I do apologise if this video has been all over the place. I do feel quite out of practice making them, but I do appreciate it if you've made it this far and you've enjoyed the relaxed approach I've had discussing the techniques and me waffling on about where I've been for the past couple of weeks as well. I'll be honest, it has been quite good just taking a little step back from social media. I will get through and read everyone's comments a little bit more deeply. I have tried to reply to as many as possible, but I am looking forward to being a lot more consistent, and I've missed you guys too. So again, thank you for being really patient with me and being the most awesome, excellent audience. Honestly, I do appreciate it. It makes it all worthwhile for me doing this. Although I'd do it anyway, but it just means a lot to me, I think, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm at the stage of the picture now where I'm just like, let's just throw loads of random colours for tonal areas. They might not necessarily be the right ones, but I still think they add what I wanted it to add to the picture. I was a little bit apprehensive as to how that acrylic would sit over the coloured pencil areas, especially after using that oil-based Zest-It on there, but hey, I just threw caution to the wind and did it anyway, and it wasn't a disaster, it was fine, and kind of appreciated, again, just loosening up with it. It made a difference. You know, if you're a regular viewer, I'm quite tight with my work and very precise when I want to be, and this was just a nice little exercise of chilling out and enjoying this rather odd combination of materials here. I also do appreciate that it did add a little bit extra depth, perhaps just where the coloured pencils alone weren't quite doing it, and it just gave it a little bit more of a sinister look, and I'm quite happy with how it turned out. It was the most random thing I decided to paint, and yeah, I do want to do a bigger version. I think perhaps this was just me gearing up to it. I think maybe if I could have done something different. That blue I'm adding in the background is fine where it is, but I actually do wish I'd added it at the back of his head as well, but I went a little bit too literal there and just went off the reference. But hey, you know what? I'll know this for the next time I do this picture. Overall, what do I think of the box? Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you do have a choice as to whether you take this box or skip it. Obviously, this was a nice surprise for me because I completely forgot, but yeah, you know what, I enjoyed it. I like the magazine that you get in there. There's usually like nice interviews with featured artists as well as like handy tips. And yeah, I recommend this box. I'd definitely get it in the sale though. But yeah, if you're curious or if you want some additional supplies to your Artful collection, go for it. I had a lot of fun with this, and paintbrushes and that nice paper, they always make me happy. So I can't grumble there. I guess we're just at the finishing touches area. I thought I'd just add a little bit more details here and there, perhaps around the hair and perhaps just on the form of Lucifer's neck. But yeah, it was pretty much done. I'm really happy with how it turned out. It was fun, it was cathartic to paint. And yeah, I might do some more master studies in the future. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below, so drop a comment. If you haven't as well, give us a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video and made it this far. In fact, if you have made it this far, why not pop a little devil emoji in the comments too? I just want to say a massive thank you for watching, and an even bigger thank you if you've listened to all of my waffling. As always, I'll leave a couple of videos on screen for you to click on and maybe a playlist, so if you haven't caught up already, why not hit one of those now? In the meantime, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you lovely lot soon. Bye!